The history of coffee is as rich and flavorful as the drink itself. It begins in the ancient coffee forests of Ethiopia. According to legend, a goat herder named Kaldi discovered coffee when he noticed that his goats became particularly energetic after eating the berries from a certain tree. Intrigued, Kaldi tried the berries himself and experienced a similar burst of energy. He shared his findings with a local monastery, where the monks found that the berries helped them stay awake during long hours of prayer. Word of the energizing berries began to spread, and it wasn't long before coffee reached the Arabian Peninsula. In the 15th century, coffee was being cultivated in the Yemeni district of Arabia, and by the 16th century, it was known in Persia, Egypt, Syria, and Turkey. Coffee was not only enjoyed in homes, but also in many public coffee houses, called kahvekhana, which began to appear in cities across the Near East. These coffee houses quickly became centers of social activity and communication. People frequented them for all kinds of social activities, and not just for the beverage. They listened to music, watched performers, played chess, and kept up with the news. Coffee houses were now often referred to as schools of the wise, because of the clientele they attracted. By the 17th century, coffee had made its way to Europe and was becoming popular across the continent. As demand for the beverage continued to spread, there were fierce debates about whether it was even appropriate to consume. In 1615, Venetian merchants brought the first coffee to Italy. The church denounced coffee and called it the bitter invention of Satan. However, Pope Clement VIII tasted coffee and gave it papal approval. Once given the stamp of approval by the Pope, coffee rapidly spread across Europe. Coffee houses quickly became centers of social interaction, much like those in the Arab world. In England, coffee houses were referred to as penny universities because one could get a cup of coffee for a penny and engage in stimulating conversations. By the mid-17th century, there were over 300 coffee houses in London, and they attracted an eclectic group of patrons including merchants, shippers, brokers, and artists. Coffee's popularity continued to spread to the New World. In the mid-1600s, coffee was brought to New Amsterdam, later called New York by the British. Though coffee houses rapidly began to appear, tea remained the favored beverage in the New World until 1773. When the colonists revolted against a heavy tax on tea imposed by King George III. The revolt, known as the Boston Tea Party, would forever change the American drinking preference to coffee. As the demand for coffee continued to spread, so did the quest to cultivate it outside of Arabia. The Dutch were the first to successfully obtain coffee seedlings in the latter half of the 17th century.